Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another weekly episode of Badass Digital Nomads, where we teach you how to be a badass so that you can work online and work remotely and make money from anywhere in the world. And today, my guest is Canaan, otherwise known as CJ Johnson, who is a super cool person who I met. He's one of the speakers at the Nomad Summit last year. So I met him in Las Vegas at Johnny FD's Nomad Summit, and we became friends. And I was very inspired by his story of his struggle as a Native American in Middle America and teaching himself how to make money online over the years and how he's progressed with that little by little to make anywhere from $12 a month when he first started to up to $8,000 a month by using different online tools like selling like eBay or on Merch by Amazon and other strategies that he's going to talk with us about today. He will also share some of his tips and advice for people who don't want to work and travel full time, but they might just want a little bit more flexibility in their day-to-day life. So some tips for asking your boss about how you can work remotely from home 1 or 2 days a week and how to leverage your value so that you can start creating other revenue streams and not just depending on one salary.
Yep.
So
What's up,
welcome.
guys?
Welcome to the show, CJ.
Thank you. What's up, everybody? YCF Young Chief Finesse. You know I've been stacking dough. How's it going, everybody?
So, yes, tell us a little bit about your background, because there's one thing that I heard. Of course, I have heard your talk at the Nomad Summit because I was there in person. So I got to see you speak in person, and we also hung out and ran around Vegas with all the digital nomads and aspiring remote workers there. But one of the things that you said that just really resonated with me was how you at one day were laughed out of the office when you told people that you had an idea to make money online. So I really want to get to that. But first, I think it would be important to talk about how it all started for you, because our stories are quite parallel, being that I was a digital nomad before I knew what a digital nomad was, and you were making money online and hustling before hashtag hustle was a thing, and you were doing eBay and Amazon sort of arbitrage stuff before people like Gary Vaynerchuk made that very mainstream through his show Trash Talk and before it became a thing on the internet. So tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up and some of the struggles that you had that led to you learning about online opportunities to support yourself. Can you hear me okay? Oh no. I think we lost CJ. I see him, but he's not here. Well, that's a first. CJ, are you with us? Oh no, he dropped out of the live. All right, he dropped out of the live stream. It's always something new, even after doing hundreds of live streams. Hi, Tech Lords. Hi, Walt. Well, we have lost our guest, which has never happened before. Hopefully he comes back. Otherwise, I'll think of something. Oh, here he is.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Make sure your charger is plugged into the wall and your laptop, okay?
Digital nomad tips, people. Digital nomad tips. So did you hear my question?
Yeah, so you said you were commenting on how I got laughed out of the office one day, and then also kind of how I got started and kind of the background leading up to that, right?
Right. Before Gary Vaynerchuk and many other people made things like eBay arbitrage and
Mm-hmm.
hashtag hustle popular, you
Mm-hmm.
were kind of already figuring it out organically. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood, and how that led to the idea of making money online?
Yeah. So kind of the hustle first started as a hobby. Before that, it was like a necessity. So I come from a small town called Wewoka, Oklahoma. It's the capital of the Seminole Nation of Oklahoma. That's a federally recognized tribe. I'm Seminole. My dad is really involved in tribal politics and things. But before he was elected as a tribal official, um, both of my parents didn't go to college. On the first person, on the first generation. So I grew up in a humble household. I grew up with 8 siblings in a 3-bedroom house. I grew up in a low income area. Um, and I was the first person in my family to go to college. So growing up, my mom was always very thrifty and savvy with things like going to garage sales and going to thrift stores and trying to save a buck to be thrifty and out of need. And then that necessity grew into a hobby. Like all my family would jump in the car early mornings on Saturdays and go to garage sales, and we would go to thrift stores. And then at an early age, I got into eBay and I started like going to different garage sales and pawn shops and flipping video games and video game consoles and anything that I could really sell on eBay. I would start selling that. Mostly when I first started, it was like Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, video games, consoles. I would buy things, buy video game lots off eBay and then piece them out and then resell them on eBay. Um, Things like that. So that's how I got started on eBay. I was about 13, 14, 15, that time frame when I first started doing that. And even to this day, all my family, we still jump in the car and go to thrift stores when we can and things like that. So from eBay, I was selling those video games and Pokemon cards and things like that. And then I was like, well, all these items are kind of like one-off items. What can I do to like buy a lot of the same item and then resell it over and over? So at that time, I was around 15, 16. And what was really in fashion or what was really popular are the Air Force Ones, the all white Air Force Ones or the all black. You can do low top, high top. And those are like really popular and still are popular. Like they're like a timeless shoe, kind of like
The
Timberlands.
shoes, right?
Yeah, the Air Force Ones, the shoes. And Nelly did a song about stomping in my Air
Oh,
Force One. So it's kind of the Air Force One is definitely a staple piece in hip hop culture and in fashion still today. So all my friends were really into Jordans and Air Force Ones and things like that. So I bought a pair, and then we would always try to find ways to stop the crease in our shoe of the Air Force or the Jordans. And there was these things at this time called decreasers. This was before force fields were invented, and this was before Foot Locker had them just like at the store. There was these things called decreasers where you would put them in the toe of your shoe and they would stick at the top and they would stop your shoe from creasing because, you would always want to keep your shoes as clean as possible, as fresh as possible to look cool, go to school,
of course.
I got the best fly shoes, things like that. And that was really popular where I was from. So I saw that there was a guy selling them on eBay for like $15.99, and then I seen that there was an actual website for the decreaser itself. So I called the website manufacturer guy. I call him up. I'm like 16 at this time, and I've been saving up money from flipping video games and stuff like that. And I called him. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get more of these, like wholesale amount. I was like, how much can I get 100 of them for? So he sold me 100 of them for $5 each. So I spent $500. And then when I got them, I resold them for like $14.99. So I undercut the other guy a little bit, and then I put them on eBay, and I just started selling those over and over and over again. And that was how I started getting even more money. So that was around 16, 17, 18. I'm still flipping video games, still
Wait,
flipping.
let me just interject for a minute because what you just said is mind-boggling because so many people think that to be able to make money online, they have to know a bunch of stuff. Like they have to know what to do. They have to have connections with factories in China or whatever it is. And you just proved that by solving a simple problem, which is the essence of business, right? The essence of
Mhm.
business is solving a problem for somebody else. You and your friends had a problem that your shoes were getting dirty and they were getting worn out really quickly, and you wanted a way to keep them looking new. So you were like, well, what can we do? And you went out and found a solution to the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of being like, man, yeah, there's Foot Locker or whoever is selling these things, but I can't do it, you looked up the manufacturer, contacted
Mm-hmm.
them, and asked how much you could buy them for. I mean, it's really, really simple stuff. So I just want that to sink in a little bit with anyone who's listening, that of course this was your first idea and it worked out, but it can be like that for anybody. If you recognize a problem and then you just step by step try to solve it, and then you sell a product for more money than it costs you to buy it, that's business, and that's how you make money. So yeah,
Yep.
you can continue your story. And that was as a teenager,
Yeah, as
without
a
anyone
teenager,
telling you could do
I was
it.
16. I just called them up and was, just asked how much I could buy them for. So it wasn't, I really didn't even think about it a second thought. I just did it.
Yeah.
So also during this time, I'm selling anything and everything I can in high school. I'm also working at a snow cone shop on the side. But also during that time, I was burning CDs and making like special playlists for everyone. So that people would like write down like 20 songs, and that was when LimeWire was out. So I would just burn people's CDs and I would flip those. I was flipping everything I could. And that was up until high school. I was doing eBay. Then I got to college. I went to the University of Oklahoma my freshman year. I was still selling the shoe decreasers, but I wasn't really going to pawn shops and thrift shops as much anymore. I kind of got wrapped up into college. I started, partying, joining organizations, going to class, because I was really focused on school. I graduated high school with a 4.0 GPA, valedictorian. I got a scholarship to go to OU. So when I went there, it was kind of like a culture shock, because I had only 137 people in my whole high school, but in my first class at OU was 600 people in just one class. So it was very, a culture shock with that. So I had to focus on school, and I didn't really hustle as much my first freshman year. But then college is going on, and then I'm selling a little bit more on eBay, and then I start, looking up ways how to make money online again, and I come up on this mastermind group called the Green Room. And the Green Room is a mastermind group. It's a Facebook group that you can pay annual fee, and it's like 600 people in there that make money all types of different ways. And this guy named Steve Rakin popped up, and this guy was selling clothing from thrift stores on eBay. And I was like, what? Why didn't I ever think of that? Because I would always go to thrift stores and find clothes and like name brands and just wear them for myself, but I never thought to resell them. So then I got into selling clothing and blazers and really anything I could clothing wise from thrift stores, because mostly I only did like video games and things like that. But now I got into clothing. So I got into clothing, and then while I was in this group, I learned about Amazon FBA. And I learned about online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. So online arbitrage is where you go online, like a website, and go to their clearance aisle and buy things on their clearance aisle or buy things online and get it shipped to you. Then you label it up, and then you put it into Amazon FBA, and then you ship it to Amazon. And then people buy it from you, and you get a payout from Amazon. So I was doing online arbitrage, buying stuff online. And then I was actually doing retail arbitrage, where I would go to different stores like Target, Walmart, CVS, things like that, go in there and buy things. And I learned all this from people in the group. And then we would also have meetups. And every July there's a meetup. And actually it's the last week of June this year. It's coming up. It's going to be in Austin, because the main guy who made it is in Austin. So every year I would start going to those meetups, and I would meet people that I didn't know I would, use their knowledge in the future. So that's when I learned Amazon FBA. And so my first thing that I bought for Amazon FBA was I went online to Toys R Us clearance, because that's what they were talking about in that group. And I went to online to Toys R Us clearance. I was with I was laying in bed with my girlfriend at the time, just looking at, different stuff to buy. And she was like, hey, that's a Monster High. My little sister's really into Monster High. You should check that out. So I go to clearance, and I'm like, okay, this is a Monster High advent calendar. It's like a Christmas countdown calendar for girls. And every day you open it up, and there's like a little bitty makeup or a little toy or something like that to count down for Christmas. And these were like $4.50 each. So I'm like, okay, these might go. So I check on Amazon using the Seller Central tool, and they were selling for $39.99 each. And this was fourth quarter. So I went and I bought 50 of them from Toys R Us clearance. They shipped it to my dorm room, and I had all these big boxes waiting at the bottom of the dorm. And they were like, "Canaan, come get all these boxes." Da 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 da. And I was like, "Okay." So I went and got the boxes, opened them up. They were like all there. So I labeled them, shipped them back to Amazon, and I sold out that fourth quarter. I sold all of them for $39.99 each. I think I made about $1,000 off that. So then I started getting to selling more stuff on Amazon FBA. So instead of like selling video games and stuff like that on eBay, I was doing it on Amazon. I was selling textbooks also because I was in college at the time. So I would go around and buy people's textbooks because people wouldn't always turn them in. They would just throw them in their closet and just forget about them. So I would go to my friend's house. I would just text everyone and, "Hey, you got any textbooks? Let me see."
That's such a good idea.
I was like, "You got any textbooks?" And they're like, "Yeah." So also people would just throw them. They wouldn't even, because if you give them back to the bookstore, some bookstores wouldn't give you that much money back for it. So people would just keep their books. And then, but on Amazon, they're going for a good amount. So I would go and I would just offer them a certain amount of money, like 30 or 40% of what I would make. So if I made, let's say $100, I would give them $30 of it, or something to that extent.
Man, I wish I thought of that, because has anyone listening just been so pissed that you had to buy these completely overpriced textbooks in college and then give them back to the bookstores so that they could resell them? I mean, I recognize this issue in the early 2000s, but I just didn't have the foresight to create a business out of it. But it's like you buy a book for $150 and then you sell it back for $20. And it's like, oh, man. So you did all of these things. Like, I just love how action oriented you were about this, because in the chat, Larry's asking like, what is like the basic lesson here? And I said, I think it's recognizing opportunities and problems in the market, or price differences, like fluctuations, arbitrage opportunities, and then taking action instead of being like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea, somebody should do that." It's like you just threw yourself in and did it, and you probably learned so much along the way. And one of the messages that I want to help deliver to the viewers and the listeners is that you can do this in your spare time. You can do it after work hours. You can do it when you have kids. You have a son, for example, and you don't have to travel full time and quit your job to become a digital nomad or to make money in this new freelance gig economy that we have going on right now. You can just do trial and error on different things, and you might win some, you might lose some, but if you follow certain principles, then you can make a profit. And I know, like you were saying back when we met, that you had friends that were making $300 a month, but then you met people in these masterminds that are making like tens of thousands of dollars a month. And so, anywhere in between. It's like once you make your first dollar online, you can then eventually make tens of thousands, or who knows how much. It's really the sky is the limit. And another thing that people don't talk a lot about when it comes to Amazon FBA and retail arbitrage or trash talk or whatever this, whatever you want to call it, is that individuals, human beings, we are all getting a piece of the corporate pie by engaging in these activities. Individual people are extracting corporate profits away from the corporations. So this pie that used to be split between Toys R Us and Walmart and Target is now obviously shifted over towards Amazon, but Amazon represents a lot of individual online entrepreneurs. So it's like now Toys R Us is out of business, right? They declared bankruptcy.
They're out of business.
And probably that's going to happen to other big box retailers. But as a human being, individual with no company, with no brand, you can go out there and make money and kind of get a piece of the pie of what these big box retailers used to have for themselves as just a monopoly. So I think that that's really cool. Can you also talk a little bit about how important it is in your success and for other people to surround yourself with the right people, because you were kind of isolated in the Midwest and you didn't have any examples in real life of how to make money online. So what were your strategies to meet other people online and then in real life? And how did that help open your mindset to what was possible?
Yeah, so my strategy was just using those Facebook groups and also YouTube channels, following people's YouTube channels, because those guys in those groups, some of them had YouTube channels, and I would just follow them. And then being part of a mastermind, I think it's $100 a year to be a part of this mastermind called the Green Room. And they would have a meetup every summer, and every summer I would go and I would meet all these people. And some people I would meet and then I wouldn't really use their knowledge until the future. I wouldn't know. One guy I met, so we would go to Austin, everyone would go there, and pretty much how the meetup would go is we would all link up, we would go get tacos, we would go out to bars, we would all go to the same thrift stores. We'd have a garage sale caravan where 30 people would roll up to one garage sale and just destroy it. But it was important just to go there and to meet people that might not be in your same business or hustle, and just learn about what they're doing and making those connections, and then keeping those connections online. Because when I was in Oklahoma, I didn't really have certain hustle people that were around me that I hustled with there physically. But what I did was pretty much, when I linked up with these people at meetups, I would keep in contact online, Instagram, chat with them, Facebook chat, do video conferences and stuff like that. And I would just keep up with them and just see how they're doing and things like that. And one of the guys named Hustler Hacks, he's a graphic designer. He has a big YouTube channel. You can check him out. He's a digital nomad as well, but he doesn't move around as much. He stays in Texas as well. And he does all types of stuff, but his main thing is graphic design. But he does like eBay, all this stuff. But when I first met him, he was a graphic designer, but I didn't ever use that skill of his really. I was like, okay, cool, but he did eBay and all this stuff. But then Merch by Amazon came out, and he was like one of the foundations of how I became so successful on merch, because whenever I applied to get into merch, there was a little bit of a wait. And I was messaging with him. I had all these ideas to make different designs and shirts. So he already made me like all these designs, probably like 15 or 20 designs. So whenever I did get accepted to merch, I could just load them up. And he was like the main guy that helped me get into merch, like as in, what buttons to click, what do I need to do. Also, he gave me my first designs I bought from him. And he was just a real good mentor and friend about merch, and he's killing it on merch, and he's killing on all other types of things too. But just going to that meetup and meeting this guy, and then 2 years later, actually using his skills and him using his skills to help me as well. And now I'm on Merch by Amazon, and I don't even do FBA or eBay really like that as much anymore. I'm mostly doing Merch by Amazon, and I didn't really see that forecast or coming. So I think that. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to ask. Yeah, so I'm not a graphic designer, but I know that these days there are a lot of ways that, well, first, there's a lot of ways you can learn skills that you need for these types of things. But I think having those models as examples, you just learn from other people and you realize that they're just normal people like you and I, and that everything is a learned skill. So you can learn graphic design, but then also there are online tools that you don't really need to have those kinds of skills. And then your shirts, your most successful shirts are basically black tees with white letters on them. So
exactly.
It doesn't have to be some fancy design. And that's kind of how it is with email too. Like the most effective email marketing is usually plain text emails without all the bells and whistles. So we really don't need to overthink it. And do you have any figures on like how much money you've made over the years on Amazon merch with just your t-shirt designs?
Sure. Let me get right here. So my all-time sales, I started back in, I believe it was February 2016. Let me pull this up. I started back in February 2016. That was whenever I was about to graduate grad school. I graduated grad school May 2016. So I applied back in November of 2015, I got accepted in February 2016, and I started uploading my first 20 designs that I got from Hustler Hacks. This was back whenever he was doing orders and stuff. Now I think he's too busy. But then in February 2016, I went to a meetup in Las Vegas called AESD Market Week. And that's where you buy wholesale stuff and things like that. I really wasn't going for buying stuff. I was just going to go hang out with other entrepreneurs and people who were in those mastermind groups that I was a part of. Some of us would get together and go there and hang out and do the Vegas thing. So back then in February 2016, the whole month of February, I think I started like around the middle of the month. I only sold 39 shirts. And I was probably making about $5-10 a day. But my total since then, and keep in mind, this isn't working on this 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week or even 10 hours a week. There would be some months that I wouldn't even touch it for 3 or 4 months. Then I would start working on a little bit more here and there. It's not like I'm dedicating X amount of time to this yet. But my all-time sales, I have 14,897 shirts sold. My royalties from those shirts is $62,330.06, and my sales are $260,142. So I'm making about $4.22 per sale. So if you divide that, it's around $1,500 to $2,000 a month profit since February 2016. But that kind of fluctuates. So some months might be low, some months be higher, some months might be medium, and then if you divide all that, it's about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And my biggest month was the month after I came back from the Nomad Summit, which was the 2 Nomad Summits ago in Thailand, and that was 2018. Yeah. So Nomad Summit 2018, I went in January. I got all fired up, came back to the States, started working on my business back in just grinding, pushing shirts out. And then that month I did $8,400 profit off of shirts. And my biggest selling shirt was a black shirt with white text, simple. Most of my shirts that I sell are, I guess, typography or whatever that word is, typography.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So most of my shirts are just black shirts, white text, or I might change it up now and do like red shirt, white text, just do different shirt colors. But my number one selling shirt is a black shirt with simple white text, something simple, So about 90% of my designs are typography, and then about 10% are actually illustrations or graphics that I get from outsourcing, like people like Hustler Hacks, or I just go to some other places and get people to design, because I tried to do the whole design thing. I even went to school at SMU here in Dallas. That's where I'm at, Dallas, Texas right now. And I did about 3 months of the class, and I was just like, this is not for me. Why would I spend all this time trying to learn Photoshop and Illustrator and click the right buttons whenever I could just pay somebody a little bit of money and they can do it for me and like that. So, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to do that. And then that's whenever, I learned about Over, and Over is an app on your phone and it's free. You can download it on iPhone and Android. And it's just pretty much a little graphic app that you can make typography shirts on. So that's the app that I use to make all my typography shirts, and that's what I've used to sell all these shirts. And again, that was 14,897 shirts sold and $260,000 in sales so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the guys in the chat, Larry, is saying like, some people, maybe they want to focus more on a career instead of just making money online here and there. But I think that what's important about your experience that a lot of people can really resonate with and relate to is that you can do it like trial and error over the years, and you can do it on the side, and you can do it while having a day job and without making any major long-term life changes. And I think that's why shows like Trash Talk with Gary Vee have become so popular, because it shows what real people can do without a specific college degree or without any specific training. It's just having the idea and then action to follow through on that idea and see what happens. And I'm sure after these experiences, like your mind has expanded so much with the possibilities of what you can actually do online. And And that's something that your manager or your regional manager or, the CEOs of companies that you worked for in the past didn't necessarily understand, including your coworkers. So you said something really funny in your Nomad Summit talk where your boss was kind of giving you a hard time, like, don't talk about your side hustle to the regional manager, and like kind of like putting you down about that. And you were like, hey man, don't you have investments on the side? Like, you can do things in your personal life. You can dedicate your time to whatever you want. And you said something really key. You said, why would I only invest in other people and other companies when I can also invest in myself?
Exactly. Yeah. So I started merch in 2016. I graduated May 2016. Then I moved to Dallas from Oklahoma, and I graduated with a master's in HR and a bachelor's in business. So my first job out here in Dallas I was a healthcare recruiter for a company, a staffing company. So I would recruit nurses and doctors and all that for clinics all over the DFW area. And one day we all went out to a Texas Rangers baseball game. It was like a company outing. And the regional manager came, like the big boss, and he was getting to know other people. And he was like, okay, so Canaan, what are you into? What do you do in your spare time? What are your hobbies? I was like, well, I have this online t-shirt store from Merch by Amazon. I'm really trying to push that and, have that as my side hustle, And I'm telling him about it. And then my boss that's at our office looks at me like, and then he brings me off to the side. We go get a beer, and he's like, CJ, don't ever tell the regional manager that you have a side hustle. I said, what? I said, why? He's like, he said, he'll think that you're not fully committed to this position. And in my head, I'm like, I'm not fully committed to this position. So I was like, well, I was talking to him. I was like, you told me you have investments, you do stocks, you do all types of things. And I was like, so what's the difference between you investing your money and your time into another business and me investing my money into my own self and my own business? It's the same thing. And he was like, yeah, I guess it is. I said, it's the same exact thing. It's just not, mine aren't stocks, mine are t-shirts and t-shirt designs and stuff like that. So
I think it's just good to have that kind of like, once you have that mindset shift, like for anyone watching or listening, it's like once you kind of turn the corner and start believing in yourself and realize what you're capable of, it's like you can never unknow that. Like you can just go full speed ahead from that point on and just shrug off all the haters, because that's something that no one can take away from you. If you want to believe in yourself and you want to believe in your capabilities, like that's all you, and it doesn't matter what anyone else says.
Yep. And go ahead.
Sorry. Before we run out of time, I want to move to some of the questions in the chat. And also, I want to touch on some tips that you have for people who are stuck in like a corporate cubicle and have responsibilities where they can't necessarily fly off to Chiang Mai, Thailand, but they still want to have some work-life balance and flexibility. So can you talk about some recommendations or some tips for people who might be in a similar situation that you were in before, and how they can get their boss to let them work from home maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week?
Yeah, sure. So when I was at my first job in that cubicle type environment, and what I would do was I would just listen to different podcasts and YouTube channels and just surround myself with positive things. I would listen to Johnny FD's podcasts. I would listen to a couple other podcasts. And then I would watch and listen to a couple YouTube shows in the background while I was working. And I would just, I think this guy named Riley Bennett was a YouTuber, and I would just watch all his travel videos. He's a digital nomad that he's living in Bali right now, but he was in Chiang Mai when I was watching him. And he was pretty much a college kid that moved out there. So I just started messaging him like, hey, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to go to Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'm going to go to the summit and this and that. And really, it took me a year before I could even go to Thailand. So I would listen to channels. And then what he did was he lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with his best friend. So he cut, his cost. He would stack his money up. And so that's what I did. I ended up, one of my best friends moved to Dallas, and I was like, hey, man, just come crash on the couch. We can split bills. We can cut this cost. And then we can save money to go to Thailand. And also we can save money to get a new apartment or a bigger apartment later. So we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for like a year. And that's just being humble. Like, when I first moved to Dallas, I wanted a big apartment, I wanted this and that, and the nicest car, the high rise. But after getting involved in this digital nomad stuff and seeing people, it's more important about experiences rather than things. So I guess from that was, one, listen to podcasts and surround yourself with good people and people who are positive. And two, stop putting so much emphasis on material things and put emphasis on experiences and relationships and things like that. Because that way you can save money, as well as you come to find out that this stuff doesn't really even matter that much anymore.
Yeah. And then how did you approach your boss to ask to work from home without making it all about you, like with having it as a company angle, like how this will help you be more productive or help the company's mission or objectives?
So for me, I work in HR, and I used to have an open door policy where anyone can walk into my office, but that became an actual huge distraction where I couldn't get anything done because people would stop in, hey, this or hey, that. And I didn't have any time to focus on my work. So what I did, I just started being more efficient with things that I do at work, like get certain action items done for the day. And then I would start making certain meetings and certain things on certain days. Like if you have a meeting, or if like I do onboarding and orientation. So instead of having them come on Monday, where that's our busiest day with meetings, I would have them come on Tuesday where I can devote that whole day to them. So what I started doing is just being more efficient at work. I started getting things done quicker and easier with just trying to focus on certain action items. And then what I did was I talked to my boss. I said, hey, I went online and I found this it was a Forbes list. It was a Forbes magazine article about closing your door at work and also working from home and how that's efficient and how you can get more things done. And I brought that to my boss and I was like, hey, look, I know I need to be here for HR issues and things like that, but it's hard for me to get anything done with my door closed or even with my door open because people are banging on my door. Hey, Canaan, fix this problem. And there's certain things that I can get done quicker if I was just either come in later in the evening or come on a weekend and get a day off, or if I could just work from home one day a week, things like that. So I negotiated to get work from home one day a week. Some weeks I can't, some weeks I'll have to work the whole week, but sometimes, most of the time I can work from home from one day a week if I need to. So that's something that Tim Ferriss said to do in his book, the 4-Hour Work Week, was start, leveraging your value at work so you can get things done quicker, so you can be away from work more. Then you can start working on your own stuff while you're away from work. And then you can also start traveling and doing things like that. So
yeah, those are all really good principles. And if anyone wants more advice on that, I do have a video and an article on how to convince your boss to let you work from home, because there's a lot of science and research out there now. So I'll link to that in the show notes and the description and the comments here on this video. So let's take the opportunity to go over to the chat and do some live questions.
Okay.
We have Mei Ling asking, what about when things go wrong? So what are some of the failures you've had and how did you fail correctly, so to speak?
So when I first started merch, I didn't really fully abide by the copyright rules, and sometimes I would accidentally break them. So let's say I would upload a shirt and I would include a word like, oh, go follow my Instagram account and look at more shirts that I have. But some things are copyright, like you can't use Instagram in your listing and stuff like that. So my shirt came down and Amazon sent me an email like, you can't, you're violation of this policy, you can't copyright this and that, and your account can get suspended. So what I started doing was, being part of those Facebook groups, and then there's starting to be tools online that you can use, like Chrome extensions and things, and also using the TESS, the Trademark Electronic Search System, so you can look up different phrases and things that are copyrighted, and just implementing those tools so I don't break the rules, so I can keep going, because some accounts have got suspended and they're just no longer able to do it. So I would say, just take action and do it. And if you make a mistake, you'll find out yourself you made that mistake, and you just got to troubleshoot and use your resources, use Facebook groups, use your friends, use YouTube on how to get those problems fixed and see how other people fix those problems.
Awesome. Thank you. We also have a question from Walt who says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is it to set up a merch operation that's similar to the one that you're doing from home?
I don't know, 1 through 10. Ooh, I don't. I would probably say a 7 or 6 or 7, because right now you got to apply to get into merch. So you can go to merch.amazon.com. Once you request an invitation, it might take anywhere from 1 day to 6 months to get into merch, to get accepted. And then once you get accepted in there, really you can start, before you start even doing that, you can download over the app and start working with the text and typography. And also you can start going to Fiverr, Upwork, or even Facebook groups to find graphic designers to get ideas. But to get one to make you to $1,500 to $2,000 a month, you got to put in the work. You can't just like do it and expect to be making that in 30 days or even 60 days. You got to work towards it, because in Merch by Amazon, there's a tier system. So when you first start, you can only upload 10 shirts. Then once you reach that level, 25, then 100, then 500, things like that. So I would say it's definitely possible. My roommate got started when I first started back in February 16, and I got him in on it. And within his second month, he made $300 profit, and he used that to pay his car note that month. So that was really cool. I got to see him go from $0 to $300 a month. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. He's like, yeah, man, I paid my car note. I'm like, that is so cool. So
yeah, who doesn't want an extra $300 a month? I mean, I'll take that.
So it's not impossible, but the thing why I said 6 or 7 was because people give up if they don't see any success within the first 30 days. They're like, oh, this is a scam. I've heard people say, I got people signed up and they upload some shirts and they didn't sell any within the first month. They're like, this is a scam. I'm like, how's it a scam? Everything is, free to do. But also, while you're waiting to get into merch, there's other websites you can sell on. So for example, right now I'm selling on Redbubble, which is another print on demand site, Zazzle, Teespring. There's other sites that I uploaded all the designs I had for merch onto them, and you don't have to wait to get into those. You can start selling on that today. And then another one that I'm doing is eBay. There's integration from Printful, which is a printing shop kind of like Amazon, but they're their own thing. And you can integrate that with eBay. So you can list shirts on eBay. People will buy it off eBay. Boom, they send a message to Printful. Printful ships the shirt to the customer. So that's pretty cool. And that's all digital.
I think that there's a good lesson here that is basically not to take failure personally. It's interesting how that thread kind of went through both Mailing's question and Walt's question. And everybody's probably seen those graphs. It's like, this is what being an entrepreneur looks like, and it's up and down. And this happens also with traveling and living abroad. But most people who are successful will talk about how they failed more often than they succeeded. So I think not taking it personally for any listeners who tried something and it didn't work out, you just keep going, because eventually you're going to have so many attempts that something will have to work out just statistically, but also you're learning from each failure. You're learning what people like, what people don't like, and you'll start to get more ideas and think more strategically about how you can do that next thing. And so, yeah, I think if we all quit, because we weren't going fast enough or something wasn't working out the way we wanted it to, usually life has a more creative plan for that than we have for ourselves. And succeeding is really all about the long-term haul. Like, all of the people that you see who are successful with business or successful with a brand or an online audience or really anything, they're like an overnight success that was 10 years in the making. So it might not take everybody that long, but you're always going to wish that you had started something. And even if you're making $50 a month, if you had to wait 1 year or 10 years for that to be $5,000 a month, wouldn't you still want to do it? So yeah, just thinking of it as like a game and not taking it so seriously and just expecting that most of the time you're going to fail, but every once in a while you're going to hit the jackpot. So
yeah, and also I saw a meme the other day. It was like, don't compare somebody else's chapter 12 to your chapter 2.
Totally.
I think sometimes that can be toxic to yourself. Is like, so some of my friends are getting married right now and like buying houses and things like that. But that's just not where I'm at in life right now. I'm not getting married right now. I do want to travel more. I don't want to have a mortgage right now. So, it's all in hindsight, on exactly what you're doing. And, that's the same thing comparing your businesses and stuff like that. It's great to have mentors and things like that for sure, but don't, put yourself down. Just keep going, keep moving, and continue to invest in yourself and put into your business.
Awesome. So if people want to connect with you and get some more of these positive CJ vibes, or learn more about your business model and what you're doing, and if they can do it too, then where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Chief Stacks His Dough, Chief Stacks His DOE. And then also RJ Mack, who was also at the Las Vegas Nomad Summit. He did a workshop with me on Merch by Amazon. Me and him have a Facebook group called Amazon Lifestyle. So yeah, that's my Instagram right there, Chief Stacks His Dough. And then Facebook is Amazon Merch by Amazon Lifestyle, and you can join that. It's a free group, and we have a lot of pins in there that already, like, people who ask questions over and over. We just pin the main question, but join that group.
Awesome.
Holler at us. We're always willing to help. Actually, RJ Mack and I are going fishing today after we finish this podcast. So he's does Shopify. He's traveling around, but he's in DF. His main home base is DFW as well. So we're gonna hang out today.
So today is a Tuesday. Are you just working from home today?
I'm working from home. Yeah, today and yesterday, actually.
Yeah. So that's like another awesome thing. I mean, I remember in high school, I used to really love having half days at school. I just go to school from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And even if you don't want to be a full-time digital nomad, you just want to work from home, make a few $100 a month or $1,000 a month extra, just have one day a week that you can go fishing. I think that's just such a huge increase in anyone's quality of life. Like whatever it is that you like to do. Maybe you want to go to yoga, or maybe you want to go shopping, or just go like have a coffee or something at 10 a.m. instead of being at work. Like that's what this technology is allowing us to do. So I hope that everybody takes advantage of that. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone in the chat. Thanks for coming by and watching live.
And also, I want to give a shout out too as well to a couple people. If you want to get more information on eBay and Amazon Hustle, go follow Resale Rabbit, Hustler Hacks, and Jameson Philippi. You can find them on Facebook and YouTube. If you want to learn more about Merch by Amazon, you can follow that Facebook group, or RJ Martinez on YouTube and Merch Elephant. They're really killing the game on Merch by Amazon as well. Also, shout out to Johnny FD for the Nomad Summit coming up.
Yeah, and shout out to Johnny for always bringing lots of badass digital nomads together all over the world. I'm super excited because this weekend I fly to France for a week for a writing workshop. And then after that, I'm meeting up with Johnny and one of his podcast co-hosts, Sam Marks, over in Vilnius, Lithuania. So these are kind of some of the fun side projects that you can do when you work remotely. And it's always such a joy to be able to talk to people like you over the internet and then to connect in real life as the years go by. It's just so cool to see how this community is growing. And like, I just can't even imagine. It's like endless opportunities and friendships and lessons. And it's just such a cool time to be alive. So.
Yep.
All right, thanks. Well, I'll see all of you guys next week for another episode of Badass Digital Nomads. And make sure to check anywhere you get your podcasts on iTunes and Google Play, because we also have an audio podcast coming out every Tuesday. So even when we're on YouTube, you can catch another episode of Badass Digital Nomads wherever you get your podcasts. So see you guys next week, and hasta luego.
See you later.